Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Everything you need to know. The latest geographic video. It was relatively faster than I would have thought because he said he's going to do this. There has been a recent thing about 100 men versus 1 gorilla debate. I guess you can call this a meme because it's just like one of those things that suddenly popped up and it became famous for some fucking reason. And I think I've said this in the past in one of the videos that this is not even a question. Gorilla, silverback gorilla, even like, yeah, gorillas are like insanely powerful. They can fuck up anyone up. 100 men? No, one gorilla cannot take 100 men. That's insane. If you know any basic physics, I don't know about basic, but if you know physics, you would know like this is not even possible just because of the numbers. Not to mention overall mass, and also like like heat distribution, right? Anybody who likes fight like UFC would know the big guys usually have problem with a lot of like cardio and things, and overheating also is an issue. So if there is 100 men rather than one big man that is equal to 100 men, if there is a numbers, like it's better cardio in every sense of the way. Strength and aggressiveness is where people like, yeah, gorilla would kill everyone. No, you thinking like these are proper grown as men, right? Who can figure shit out. Power in numbers, right? Like we've seen the dinosaur things, right? How smaller dinosaurs in number in pack hunters basically can take down big ass T-Rexes and everyone because they can. This similar things. Now, if this was like 100 men versus 1 grizzly bear, I don't know, because with the fist and everything, like grizzly bear, like the level of defense it has, the level of size it has, I don't know that. Like, I'm pretty sure grizzly bear would kill a lot of people before everybody else runs away. Gorilla, yeah, I think 100 men can take out a gorilla. But obviously, we'll see what geographic thinks and see if I'm completely wrong or not. So it's gonna be interesting. Let's do this one. Remember, if you like videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. So I know which videos to react to more. I like videos like this. I like geographic videos, zoology video, whatever you want to call it. I watched here Zoo. Geographic is a frank one, and I like topics like this, right? Because it's really, I mean, obviously I like science, what Tier Zoo covers and everything. But geography is one of those channels who will cover anything animal related if it's something to cover, and he has a really vast knowledge, right? Like how he was a kid and he was like hooked to all these things. He's created books and everything. Is awesome. So that's what it's on.
Versus 1 gorilla is just the newest online debate brought to you by people that have way too much time on their hands. And I'm no better, because here I am making a video about it. Because it's quickly gone from silly Twitter talk to what has to be a massive joke that I'm not in on. What's clear is one side is getting drastically overrated, while people obviously aren't taking the other side seriously. Plus, I love animals and arguments, so if you're looking for a video to eat your lunch with, or to be the soundtrack of your commute home, I'm going to break down the question you probably didn't care about.
I think people think gorillas are equal to bear or something. Average people, they're like, ah, it's a gorilla. Look at the Kong versus this and that. Like, look at those movies. It's like a bear or something. No, it's not. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of like mid-tier cats, like leopards, and just can still fuck up a gorilla, let alone tiger or something like that.
In the first place, and by the end, you'll wonder how this was ever even a question. So here's the full truth of whether 100 unarmed men could be one prime silverback gorilla. But first, we gotta understand what force of nature we're up against. Now, I do have a couple recent videos on gorillas, so to not repeat myself too much, I do advise that you check those out for further context. But basically, everything we thought about gorillas back in the day was wrong. They're giant, non-violent, fart-happy pacifists, and the most dangerous thing about them is they can misunderstand regular human actions as an act of war. So while yeah, if you smile at a silverback enough times, he eventually will put beats on you like a Cherokee drum, most times a gorilla is just worried about the 6,000 calories he eats a day. And thank the stars for that. Gorillas are built like the developer had something to prove.
6,000 calories eating those leaves, that's insane.
They took the human model and said, drag to resize. The result is an alpha ape with a stronger bite force than a grizzly, allegedly, hands that can crush a crocodile's skull, allegedly, and just strength that we really have no way to truly comprehend. That man fully didn't plan to get casually ragdolled, but plans are always subject to change when you're around the prime ape. Gorillas might default to peace, but life is multiple choice. The question is, what kind of carnage comes when they choose violence? It's hard to imagine what a fully malice-motivated gorilla can do because It takes a lot for them to get to that point. The first phase of conflict involves using body language and gestures to send a message before hands even have to be thrown. Because for an animal that can spend over 12 hours a day eating, wasting calories on fights is poor resource management. The second phase of escalation usually involves pushing, grappling, and screaming in really short bursts. Gorillas fight the way they fight. What I mean,
Like that man's like, oh really, really, really? I've seen this movie. Get the fuck out of here. A gorilla is like Liam Neeson in like that Taken movie, right? Like I have a certain set of skills now. Yeah, you come to a point where I have to use those skills now.
is the phase they run are like how they're hung. Not long at all. Because again, most times gorillas don't actually want to fight. When they do, yeah, that would be phase 3, and that usually happens when two silverbacks throw down for control of a group. Losing such would mean losing the 3 F's: food, family, and the FCC won't let me finish, but stakes can make these fights to the death, and here's where we can see what gorillas are truly capable of. I found a research paper that detailed the injuries sustained in gorilla-on-gorilla fights, and based on that, you see a pattern. Those teeth are for more than just undressing trees, and losers are often found with lacerations and puncture wounds all over the body. And unlike a leopard, which leaves small puncture wounds, the canines of a gorilla cause large gaping tears in victims. Even if the gorilla's bite strength has been exaggerated, which we will get into, even lowballing them puts them at the level of a hyena. One gorilla named Inshuti had his foot completely crushed with the tips of his fingers and ear bitten off. Gorillas also use their arms, not really to punch but to use as battering rams, and they've also been known to pull chunks of hair out with their hands. So safe to say, a gorilla's stiff arm to the back would crack your constitution like a glow stick and could dislocate or break human bones by accident. And with many victims also recorded with bite wounds to the face, you'd probably be able to unlock your iPhone from 20 feet away after a gorilla puts jaws on you. So what chance would an army of humans have against a 500-pound berserker? Well, hot take, gorillas have been drastically overrated in many ways. First as fighters. Gorillas aren't efficient fighters, they're more physical.
Yeah, I mean, everything you hear is just said like, yeah, no humans stand a chance, but it's 100, man. You need to visualize 100 men. Let's say an average person weighs 70 kilos. 100 would mean 7,000 kilos, 16,000 pounds of total weight. Basically swarming a gorilla. I mean, come on, man.
Brawlers and grapplers, and with everything I've said, most fights last anywhere from a couple seconds to 1 to 2 minutes at the most. Also, as strong as gorillas are, their strength has been overrated. There are some animals that just get more and more OP the more people talk about them. Chimps have been said to have the strength of 8 men when really it's closer to 1.5. It's just that they're stronger in all the ways that can kill you. And grizzly bears are already big enough, but then you got people claiming they can decapitate a full-grown moose with one swipe. Now what idiot would say that? And this debate has people.
Yeah, but then again, anything in the wilderness always have this level of aggression and this level of strength that you can't really quantify. I mean, if you go to like one of those cannibal places that are like left alone, basically living like cavemen, if you say their strength relative to their size, they would be deadly in their own way. It's just that we humans have become civilized. And our strength curve has become like that. Even if we are really strong, can we apply that strength in a vicious way? That's the point.
Swearing a gorilla would rip a whole man in half like a phone book with nary a sweat. I knew the gorilla propaganda peaked when this was an actual debate.
Seriously?
Dr. Strange could conjure up 14 million realities. You won't find one where a plus-size protein-packing primate can do anything to a full-strength grizzly bear taking him seriously. Especially since there's a much smaller predator known to give gorillas problems. Gorillas have been documented getting preyed on by African leopards. Even with jungle leopards being bulkier due to less competition, that's still an at most 180-pound cat past tensing Optimus Prime. Now let me be fair, these are rare and leopards usually go for.
Yeah, this is 81 kilo leopard. Imagine 7,000 kilos of mass of humans. I get it, they don't have like cat-like feature, but still it's 7,000 kilos. Like I said, physics. Anybody knows physics? It's like, there's not even a question.
Hoofed animals, wild pigs, and monkeys. Gorillas are actually too big and too social to be a regular on the grocery list, so it sounds like my whole point is trash. But that same paper listing gorilla-on-gorilla violence also showed the aftermath of leopard attacks. In those reports, all leopard victims took bite wounds to the head and most of the arms, with lacerations localized about the neck and claw marks on the trunk. So even though it is rare in a one-on-one between a silver.
Yeah. Okay. So is this implied to humans? So leopards only attack top part of humans. Implying leopards knows like humans are bitch and you don't need to attack them below. Just like neck attack and they're like their weakened body, they'll fall down. Is that it? While gorillas they have to attack everywhere. Okay.
Localized about the neck and
Because of wounds on victims with the type of attack from. Ah,
claw marks on the trunk. So even though it is rare and a one-on-one between a silverback and a leopard might murk both, if a gorilla can struggle with less than 200 pounds of predator, a 900-pound duratio would give Harambe a bunkmate. Also, against 100 men, there are some very real issues that could be game over for the gorilla. The big one is endurance. Gorillas are dangerously close to being hot girl fit. They're best using explosive bursts of energy, not sustained strain over a long period of time, and a fight against 100 humans would likely last hours, which is really bad.
see what I said? Heat management. This is the problem. Like, anybody knows physics would know that. Like, if you get bigger, your volume gets even more bigger, right? Like, if your diameter doubles, your surface area goes 10 times as higher, your volume goes 100 times as higher, right? So, if like I said, anybody knows physics would know, like, this is a big issue. So, heat management would be enormous when it comes to gorilla. 100 men, where there are 100, all of them are separate, heat management would not be an issue.
Bad considering compared to us, gorillas have poor temperature control. Gorillas don't have as many sweat glands as humans, and if we're talking about mountain gorillas, the thick fur would make it a 101 versus 1. The men, and the risk of heat stroke. That is if the ape doesn't just have a heart attack. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in gorillas in zoos, and 70% of male gorillas in zoos suffer from heart disease that'll past tense them prematurely. Now that might just apply to zoo gorillas, but it's still a
yeah, I was about to say that. Maybe it's because they're in zoo and anxiety is higher. Right? I mean, gorilla did survive evolution. They're here, so their heart cannot just stop just by being gorillas. It's probably because of zoo.
Factor. Another is the very temperament of the gorilla is highly non-confrontational. They're more likely to run away than run a fade. But most importantly, the brawling, grappling build is not a good combat style against multiple enemies. We know that because there's another African predator that's been giving gorillas hell, and you may not have even realized it. And it's weird because for a while, gorillas and chimpanzees seem like they were on good terms. They've been recorded foraging together, and they'll even have their version of primate playdates. That all changed when the chimp started chimping. A couple years ago in Luongo National Park, scientists witnessed a gang of 18 chimps jump a gorilla family of 5. That's 3 females, 1 baby.
After watching Casual Geographic video, if I hear in my city, oh, news broke, a gang of 18 chimps have walked into the city, I'm locking every door, every window, and I'm not getting out, ever. And keep looking at the news for days. Did they get it? Did they get them? Did they get them? No, I'm not getting out. Because chimpanzees is a nope.
Baby and a silverback. The turf war lasted an hour, and even with the silverback apparently testing ragdoll physics, throwing chimps in the air, and even managing to injure 3, eventually he was surrounded and chased off by 9 chimps. The adults got away, but the chimps managed to snatch the baby gorilla of the group, which was promptly eaten. The second attack involved 27 chimpanzees and 7 gorillas, and this time, the silverback made a business decision and immediately climbed out of the trees and fled the scene. Yes, comparing chimps to humans is comparing durians to jackfruit. The moral here is the one gorilla can not only be overwhelmed, but neutralized by numbers. Because if there's one thing that's being dangerously underrated, it's the power of friendship. Don't laugh, I'm serious.
See, that's what I mean. Like, people really have no understanding of, like, numbers. Like, people like, oh, what if Brock Lesnar walks inside a bar and 3 men jumped him? It's Brock Lesnar who kill all of them. Okay, I like to do that fantasy as well. But you have no idea the power of numbers. Ganging up on, this is not a movie. In movie, fiction starts. Whenever they say like some guy overcame the number and it's just like that guy was a good of heart, everyone was bully. Real world is not forgiving. Real world doesn't care about your morality. Bullies will gang up on you and bullies will fuck you up. That's what will happen. That's the power of number. It worked at dinosaur time, it works today, it's just physics. So yeah, 100 men against a gorilla, yeah, come on, man, it's 100. If somebody said 10, I'm like, okay, 10 probably not, 100, come on, really?
If you remember this picture, then you know this was the 100 Men 1 Gorilla of 2018. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everything here is coming for your life except the 2 you picked to run defense for you. And I'm just gonna kill the suspense. If one of those picks isn't the 10,000 rats, you have no idea how big 10,000 is. Add eagles for aerial support and the rest.
Yeah, but again, like, why would rat fight for you? Like, are we removing psychology here? Like, there's some more brainwash to just fight for you? Like in Dishonored, how there are like rats that actively try to kill people. Is that what we're thinking here? Then okay, yeah, rats is probably the most OP.
most of the field would have over 200 rats to deal with each. And it's cause the power of plurality is one of the most broken strategies in nature. Mobbing refers to an anti-predator behavior where prey animals approach, harass, and sometimes attack their own predator. It's how one animal can shift an almost impossible matchup in their favor. One hyena to a lion is a chew toy. Add 20 and it's a life lesson. Pilot whales have been on record chasing orcas out of high competition areas and even actively following the sounds of orca hunts. There's plenty of examples of weaponized unity in nature, but probably my favorite case of what's akin to a mob happens off the coast of South Africa, where fur seals have to risk their spot on the census every time they check the fridge, cause the seals can't go out for groceries without the chance of running into the biggest predatory fish on earth. Every year, great white sharks will gather around fur seal nurseries and snatch any inexperienced pups. The problem is so many sharks show up that a seal can dodge one great white right into the jaws of another. You've seen this movie before, but there's an alternate ending. Scientists have recorded fur seals squatting up into one giant group and using their numbers to turn on the sharks closing in. And as the mob gets bigger, the seal force gets more confident, leading to them escorting the 20-foot assault submarines back out to sea. So
That's also psychology. You've been in that position whenever time like, I don't know, man, and they're like, you are 3, 4, 5, we can do this. Yeah, fuck it, we can do this shit. People have like jumped through the canyons just as a stunt because multiple friends of that, yeah, we could do it, and they're just like, they would have never done that in a million years alone. But not because there are multiple people with them, like, we can do it too, so fuck it, we'll do it. Let's just do this stupid shit. That's why you see a lot of those stupid videos online where people do stupid shit, but usually that's accompanied by multiple people. No one person ever does that. Usually that element, yeah, we can do this.
So with all this, now it doesn't seem like a stretch to favor 100 men over just one gorilla. You could argue that the CEOs and the other mob merchants aren't actually getting physical with their final boss. That's true, everyone's asking if 100 men could off a gorilla, no one's asking how. Well, that's why I'm here. But first,
blunt force trauma. Again, a gorilla is not a bear. Bear is so thick, like I would actually argue like, would 100 men keep pummeling the shit out of bear would even work even if they can pin down this bear just by sheer weight? Would 100 men even work in unison like that? I don't know. But against gorilla, yeah, gorilla is like big and everything, but yeah, there is a blunt force trauma. Repeatedly kicking on the head and just punching them, 100 people just using that force. You think like, how would that work? Gorilla doesn't have enough surface area for 100 people to get their hand. No, humans work insanely well, even without touching. Like you see, like even pushing, right? Our isometric strength is much heavier than any other form of strength, right? This is why you hear of those stories about like people doing ridiculous shit by just like, lifting something like in a deadlift position because the hand is not moving. Like pushing a car or truck, but they can't. Some guy behind the guy pushes him. Some guy behind them pushes it. Like the whole chain of people pushing it. The front guy doesn't collapse under the weight because it's isometric strength. So 100 people don't even need to get their hand on gorilla. They just need to support other humans, then just pin the gorilla down. That can happen. And other people just pummel the shit out of it. That's it. The game over.
Obligatory, don't try this on a gorilla, or at least don't blame me for the consequences if you do. In a fight against a simian weighing a shack and a half, it's all about attacking the weak points, and a gorilla's weak points are the same as ours. Eyes, throat, mouth, and for measure, the jewels of the South. It's all about delivering damage that actually matters, and to do that, someone would have to perform the Draymond Green special and go for the eyes and blind him. Someone else would have to suffocate the supersized simian, either by bear hugging his windpipe, which only Tarzan backpacking plot armor can do, or by shoving your entire arm down his throat. And since you're already negotiating your arm elbow deep in esophagus, you'd also have to pull the gorilla's tongue out. I call that the leopard method, because a 73-year-old once soloed an attacking leopard by reaching into its mouth and ripping out the leopard's liquor. And speaking of grab and pull, someone would have to be elected to perform Draymond's final smash and go for the gorilla's unmentionables. Hey, don't judge, this is war. The rest would have to use their combined strength to pin the primate down, with the remainder delivering kicks to the gorilla's flank, the most powerful natural attack to the gorilla's most vulnerable area.
Yeah, that would definitely give. There's been stories of like grabbing the things down south basically gives enormous pain that heart gives out. And gorilla already having problem with it, yeah.
That would probably be the best way to chip away at a gorilla. One problem though, this is still a gorilla we're talking about. Even with everything I said about their strength being overrated, a gorilla fighting for its life would show you destruction like you've never seen. It doesn't matter how many men, the method, or the facet, for those first few, their only outcome is a closed casket. Even if numbers eventually win, those first dozen or so men would be horrifically maimed, mutilated, or straight up murked. You can argue that if I can mention that 100 men running over the hill would intimidate even a gorilla,
Look, man, we are thinking we are removing all psychology out of this in order to do this, because if you're putting psychology in, gorilla would just run away. Okay, gorilla have to fight. Okay, then gorilla's fighting. 100 men have to fight. It's like 300 Spartan thing, or like, oh, we are fighting for our country type of like motivation. They don't care if they die type of mentality. If you're saying that, yeah, otherwise even humans would be like backing away slowly, trying to group it. But it would be stalemate of a weird way. Gorilla not trying to attack because there are 100 people not attacking because it's a gorilla. But we are removing all that element. If that happens, I mean, come on. Humans would pin down, like, yeah, first blows and things probably just completely take out some humans. As soon as a group like in mass tackles the gorilla, like I said, that's like 17,000 pounds of mass tackling a gorilla. I would argue like only few people would basically die at best, because they would charge in a group. Only front few where gorilla can put the hands, two or three die. Everyone else would just basically tackle it down just by sheer mass of things.
Gorilla, witnessing men getting mauled and disfigured would inflict psychological damage. There's an argument that witnessing the sheer carnage would weaken the resolve of the others. These
Again, we are removing that element, because gorilla doesn't have to take down one or two to just have that effect. Gorilla already has that effect. If that's the case, they wouldn't attack the gorilla in the first place. But if they're like, oh fuck it, we are doing this, they wouldn't get like, yeah, the adrenaline would be high enough at that point. They wouldn't back out even if few people check out. That's how the wars work. That's how charging worked for years with swords and shit.
stabilizing the army. And you have to remember, if mobbing is natural, doing so in a way that guarantees a portion of your team sees Tupac live isn't. Even animals like hyenas will fall back if they sense they don't have enough of an advantage in a clan fight. But there's a catch. The tweet that started all this said, "Dedicated to that shit. Surely if men can watch bunkmates get blown to bits in a war, then you can find 100 willing to die by the gorilla. If they can withstand the visceral reaction of seeing jaws getting detached, limbs getting dislocated, and a field of open fractures,
that is nothing. I think you need to realize back in the day, people used to get ridiculous fatal injuries by swords and spears, and people still soldier through while shit was happening around them. In world wars, people were getting blown up. People started to get, what was it called back then? I forgot, PTSD, but it was called something else, right? People were having that. Like, people were constantly losing their mind, and they were still soldiering through because it's war. This certain level of motivation comes to human nature. If you have that, like, people are not gonna back away.
100 men would definitely beat a gorilla. And moral of the story, we have strayed so far from the halo of Harambe. Yeah, this is the part where I do the annoying thing and turn a tweet made by someone who definitely wouldn't pass a P-test into a lecture. But like I said in the other video, gorillas have already been getting the middle finger from humanity, either in the wild or in zoos. Whether it's trophy hunting or bushmeat, habitat loss, or an unsupervised minor, humans have the highest KD ratio against our green machine cousins. Because a gorilla has never been on record life depriving a person, even when they may have had a reason. Yet the mountain gorilla is nearly in bed with extinction mostly because of humans. But not
Yeah, it's insane to me. Like, sometimes if you like kill something and use as a trophy hunting back then, something like tiger or something, you would understand, because this thing is just like complete killer to you, at least, because you can't really figure it out. When you see gorilla who has like hands and everything, take care of its own baby gorilla, right? Have this kind of like a human-like behavior. How do you not empathize with that? How do you just like, oh, it's just an animal, so I'm gonna like hunt it, take a photo, and it's a trophy? Like, gorilla is not something that you would think like people who hunt and just like, you know, like show it all as a trophy thing, because it's so close to humans in a way, behavioral and every way. Like, this is like one of those things. Like, why? This it sometimes makes me think, like, if things were not already established, I'm be surprised if people hunted different type of people, but people nonetheless. Just because they can differentiate them in some way, and they're like, okay, this trophy, I hunted this human or some shit. Because that's how stupid we are, apparently.
Not all humans. Some dedicate their entire lives to the welfare of this giga ape, which is why I will be donating to Virunga National Park. Not only do they treat and protect the gorillas there as family, they often have to risk their lives regularly going against poachers. That and the fact that I made a video detailing how to murk an endangered species makes my soul itch, so link down below if you'd like to donate as well.
Yeah, you actually didn't. You said basic things that anyone with common sense would know, like choke out a gorilla, do this. These are the things you would do to a human, because they are so close to human in that way, right? Because all the things you just said would not apply to a bear. How to like delete a bear, like pulling on the tongue, like all that. That shit wouldn't work with bear. So gorilla is so close to human. All the shit you would do to a human, you just explain that about gorilla. So that's not like some secret knowledge or something. So it's not like, oh, I have some kind of like a moral issue. No, I just explain. No, you didn't like give out something like, yeah, kick in the nuts, choke it out. Yeah, that applies to humans as well.
I'm not kidding when I say their family. This man was seen comforting one of his young gorillas after his mother died. And fun fact, Virunga National is where we got this gem. But yeah,
I love that shit. What? It's like a badass move.
that's gonna do it for this video.
That pause
Fun
is
little
awesome.
video that nobody should take seriously. Nah, but I think I'm gonna start doing the animal versus animal face-off videos again. So let me know what animal matchup you'd like to see me yap about. There's one I've been wanting to get into for a while. Friendly reminder that I have a book.
I have one for you, and this is not conventional. One human with a weak head start with whatever makeshift weapon that human can make from the jungle versus certain type of humans and a certain type of animals. One man versus 5 bears, but not immediately. Like I said, a week in advance, all the Bear Grylls shit, creates whatever makeshift weapons using the knowledge the person has. Who would win now? It's Bear, probably Bear. Like how is he gonna snipe? Like this is not a movie. He's not gonna Ramboing this shit. The original Rambo, right? Not the third Rambo, the first Rambo, right? The first Rambo movie, he was like, hiding out and taking out people one by one. That was the movie, I guess. I don't. Depends on the person. I don't know. Like some Navy SEAL happens to be in that position. I don't know. But shit like that. It's like complex shit. Well, that was 100 men versus one gorilla. But with the one thing we already knew, like 100 men because they're fucking 100. Power in numbers. Are you kidding me? This is my channel, Geographic. Like I said, if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.